Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to our live at 5 this Friday afternoon. We're just going to hang tight till we get a few viewers on board, and then we'll jump onto it and we'll do full introductions a little bit closer to that. If you can hear us, just drop us a yes in the comments so we can make sure everyone can hear us. Okay, cool. Right, so shall we get cracking, Nick?
Yes, why not?
Okay, cool. So we'll get straight into it, guys. I'm Rob Emery, one of the property negotiators from Bespoke. Just before we get on with it today, I just wanted to thank all of the NH staff, carers and frontline workers out there for all your heroic efforts. You are really valued and appreciated in everything that you do. Have you got anything to add to that, Nick?
No, absolutely. We've been out there making noise, clapping, banging saucepans, and my eldest has managed to find an air horn, which she's been blowing very loudly for the neighbours at 8 o'clock in the evening in their pyjamas. So no, absolutely second everything you say there, Rob.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's crack on. So today we're going to be discussing how to prepare yourself to purchase a property. We'll be covering getting yourself financially fit, using a buyer's agent, and don't set yourself up for failure. As we're discussing the things, please drop your questions in. We'll get to them at the end and see if we can answer it. And I will hand over to Nick to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what he does.
Thanks, Rob. I'm Nick Daynes. I'm a mortgage broker for Prospect Tree Mortgages, based in Kent. We cover all of the UK. We specialise in self-employed, first-time buyers, adverse credit, low credit score, all the kind of stuff, anything quirky about any cases, but obviously the normal stuff as well. We also do equity release, later life lending, and a lot of buy-to-let.
Okay, cool. All right, so if you guys know anyone that's this may be useful to you, if you wouldn't mind sharing this live out there so everyone can benefit from the chat that we're going to have, we'll jump right on. So let's talk about getting yourself financially fit. Nick, if you would walk us through the process of getting an ARP and everything that's needed to get that sorted.
Well, I think the important thing to start off with is there's a couple of super major factors that you need to be in control of prior to being able to go out and look for a property, basically. Budgeting and unsecured debt, two of the major things that you need to have a handle on for sure. When it comes to budgeting, making and sticking to a monthly budget is going to be really important. When a lender looks at an application to see if they're going to lend you the money that you have applied for, a major contributor to the affordability calculation is the unsecured debt that you might have. So committed expenditures, whether that be something like a hire purchase for a car or sofa, lots of people get things on credit these days, and those things are going to be going out of your bank account every month. So when a lender's looking at affordability, which is where they will always start, how much can you borrow is obviously the key question to begin with, Rob. When you want to show someone houses or help them find a property, you need to know what parameters you're searching within. So unsecured loans, debt, that kind of stuff is important, because if you're paying out every month for cars or unsecured loans, then that's going to play a part in how much you're able to afford to repay in terms of a mortgage loan. The more money that you owe on hire purchase, unsecured bank loans, credit card balances, smaller loans, that kind of stuff will mean the smaller the loan you'll be able to obtain from a mortgage lender. So paying off credit cards, stop paying any unnecessary interest. Really, that's a good place to start. If there's anything that you don't need, anything in the background that you've previously used but you don't need currently, then it's a good idea to get rid of it. Try and clean up your all-round credit record, making sure that you've not missed any payments, that kind of stuff, just to maximize your ability to borrow and present yourself in the best possible light to the prospective lenders. They are after clients that they know are going to be able to repay the money and in an affordable way for the lending. So to avoid disappointment, I have seen cases before where people have got huge £600-700 a month bills for cars, and it may be being paid from a car allowance via work, this kind of thing, but it still will be included within the affordability. So it can leave a big hole, those types of things, if you're not aware of it to start with. So those would be the two big things I'd say to start with, getting yourself financially fit to go ahead. Read the AIP. Like, I'm sure you would be much happier if clients come to you and they've already looked into their financial circumstances, what they're going to be able to borrow, and gives you a lot more guidance on the kind of property prices that you'll be able to look for them. So I would say, really a minimum is to have discussed affordability and looked at what kind of finance you're going to be able to raise before going out there trying to hunt down a property, start viewing, that kind of stuff. And ideally, getting an AIP is going to be preferable. The AIP will show that you've gone through a credit search, a credit reference from a specific lender, and that they will have approved a maximum loan amount for you, usually, that you'll then be able to show an estate agent, for example, or provide yourself, so that if you're negotiating on their behalf, you know where you are, and you can take that with you and negotiate on the client's behalf, really.
And so how long would that ARP be valid for if the clients had them?
A lot of times, sort of 3 to 6 months, depending on lender. But it's always, it really is just that. It's just a credit search and kind of running the affordability through. The only real way to know whether you're going to be accepted or not is to complete the full application, get the documents in for the underwriters to look at, to make sure there's not been anything missed off. That's why it's a great place to start, by looking back at your credit file, making sure that everything's up to date. There's no kind of nothing on there that you're not aware of. Whether there's any out of date financial associations, these kind of things that sometimes crop up when the application has gone in. Check, make sure that everything's kind of as you expect it to be before you go to the agreement in principle stage. But yeah, it will last, but you want to make sure that you've got all the up-to-date information, especially if you're using income like bonus income or overtime, that kind of stuff, because lenders will want the most up-to-date months to be included in that. So if you get an AIP, then 3 months later you decide you're going to proceed with an application, and then you've not got the overtime in that next 3 months that you had in the previous AIP, then that's going to reduce the amount you're able to borrow. So it's an open dialogue with your broker is going to be a good place to be, and making sure that you're up to speed on what can happen and what can change. Definitely worth doing. What about on
Okay,
the buying
cool.
side, Rob? For the
Yeah,
being,
that's it. I just wanted any common mistakes or things that people can do, I suppose, particularly now while they've got the opportunity to sit and reflect and get things ready and organize themselves, mistakes to avoid and what they can do to make sure they are financially fit.
Yeah, well, I think there's a few things that you can put in place to make yourself look a good prospect. I mean, certainly make sure you're paying your bills on time. Make sure you're not missing any payments for anything, whether that be credit cards or water bills, council tax, all that kind of stuff. Making sure you check whether there's any, if you're applying or you want to apply with a partner or another party, then make sure that their credit record stacks up, because if one person's got anything dodgy on their credit file, then it's going to impact you as well. So this advice applies to both applicants or any amount of applicants that are going on the mortgage. Review your credit history. Check your borrowing history in advance, and then if there are any inaccuracies on there, anything that shouldn't be there, then you can dispute that. So allow yourself enough time to make sure that you're financially fit, I think is a good bit of advice. Cut out any unnecessary borrowing. So if you don't really need to put something on the credit card, don't take out a ton of new loans before you're applying for a mortgage. I mean, that might sound obvious, but an AIP doesn't mean that that's a guaranteed amount that you can get. If anything changes in between doing that and the full application, then you could have a surprise and the amount that you want to borrow could be reduced. So we don't want that either. Closing any inactive credit accounts, that's always a good plan. There's something called debt to income ratio, as well as the ability. I had a client before whose salary was about 18,000, but he very proudly told me he could spend 80,000 on credit cards. And I thought, well, that's going to be a problem, because it's over four times your annual salary. That looks like you've got an enormous appetite for credit, and will influence lenders on them being prepared to lend you more money. Be selective, register to vote where you are. All these things will help lenders determine who you are and your credit record, as well as the affordability around your incomes.
Cool. That's it. Anything else you want to add to that?
Well, I think I've garbled a fair bit out, but I would always, whether it's us, I would always say that speaking to a broker is going to give you the widest area of products available and lenders available. It's not one size fits all. So definitely, speak to us, speak to a broker. That's my main thing. Take advice. It's the only way to do it. So that would be the overriding factor. Like I'm sure you'll say as well. Like, an estate agent, they work for the people selling the property. They'll try and get you into their solicitors. They'll try and get you into their mortgage brokers. Try and speak to someone outside of that to see if you get the right, honest advice with someone who's not dealing on the sales side for them.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So we can move along, I think, into our next section to keep going. Using a buying agent, I suppose this is my department, and I'm always available to answer questions on this. So how can a buying agent benefit you when you're preparing to buy for a property? I guess we can find those properties that aren't on the markets, that haven't been launched yet, have been withdrawn, or just for whatever reason aren't visible on the portals. I suppose this would also be a good time to say a buying agent wouldn't necessarily be able to negotiate on properties on their own books, for obvious reasons, because the client would then be the seller as opposed to the buyer, but they would be able to negotiate up against anyone else that comes along. Any thoughts on that, Nick?
Well, I've experienced a few times where clients of mine have used buying agents in the past, and my overriding thing is, why would you want the person who's getting paid from the vendors paying the estate agent to negotiate with that person for you? There really isn't anyone in your corner. trying to get you the best deal because the estate agent is working for the person selling the property and wants to get them the most amount of money. So they're going to constantly be trying to get your offer as high as they can get you. And it does come into the fear of losing, the fear of missing out, I guess it's called, that FOMO. If you want the property, the agent knows that, and they will squeeze every penny out of you because they're going to earn more money from the client. I think is a buying agent should stop that and be looking at getting the best deal for you, rather than you paying too much money or more money than you want to for the property.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's strange that the buyer's the only one that's not represented in the actual buying of the property. So that's another.
Professional negotiators, and I don't think most of us aren't. Then you're out there on your own, trying to negotiate against professionals. So you need someone to help you.
Well, that, I suppose, brings us to the next point, which is buying agents or buying a house is quite an emotional affair. So a buying agent will be able to walk you through that process, not emotionally attached to the house itself, and be able to make or give you good advice on what you need, and that could prove vital. And then the necessary negotiation skills. I mean, all of us at Bespoke are certified advanced negotiators, so we'd be well prepared to represent a buyer or a seller, depending on the scenario, and give them the best possible outcome.
That's what you want, isn't it? You want someone who knows what they're doing, who's not emotionally attached to the property in the same way you are. If you found your dream home, you don't want to obviously pay too much for it, but you do want to secure it. You need someone with the knowledge and ability to go in and bat for you.
That's it. Absolutely. I suppose that brings us up to our next part of the chat is don't set yourself up for failure. Be realistic in what you're looking for. And I suppose this is where that ARP will come in, because then you can work within a budget. And it sort of guides the buying agent as well as, or even the selling agent, to get you to a point and know exactly what you can and can't afford. I would also suggest probably putting a list together, splitting that between non-negotiables and those nice to haves, keeping the non-negotiables to 3 or 4. These are those must haves. Like, for example, I have a pretty large family, so a minimum of 4 bedrooms for me. I need quite a big driveway or somewhere to park the family car, plus the the little cars that we use from day to day, and I need a big flat garden out back for the kids to play. I mean, so those are like 3 non-negotiables that would be part of my family, and I mean that would change from the dynamic would change from person to person. And your thoughts on that one?
No, absolutely. I think knowing what you need, as opposed to what would be great or ideal. Often for people, it's there's location as well, isn't there? And location can drive prices, and it depends whether you want to be often down to the perfect location or the perfect property, and sometimes you can't have both. So you really need to. I think you're spot on. You need to have those right non-negotiable points, but they're going to be less, maybe like you say, 3 or 4 things that they've got to be. It's got to be a house, or it's got to be semi or detached, or whatever. But not to be too stuck on the rest of it. Like if there's other bits and pieces, you're never usually going to get 10 out of 10. You might have to say, like, look, the best you're going to do is 8 out of 10 for the things that you want, and sacrifice a couple of things. And it's very difficult, especially if you're viewing something maybe once or twice, not for that long, to kind of get your head around it. So that's where I guess your expertise comes in, because you're able to say, look, find out about the client more, and then what their lifestyle's like, and then you can maybe educate them with what those non-negotiables should be as well, if they haven't thought about things. So you're saving time, saving the vendors cleaning up for this viewing that might not actually go anywhere at all, and help guide them towards properties that are going to suit them better. So again, I think it's about not setting yourself up for failure. It's making sure you know where you are financially, and then making sure that you kind of think about it before you go out viewing, and discuss it with yourself to make sure that you're not making any sort of glaring errors to start with, and it's as pleasurable an experience as it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose then those nice to haves, or those, they're not, at the end of the day, wouldn't be deal breakers, but perhaps it's a garage or a carport as opposed to just an open driveway or drive up. But those could be a number of features. Also, I suppose trying to make your list extensive. Also keep it to what you really need and what would be nice to have, and sort of areas and that. Folks, don't forget to drop your questions in and let us know what you're thinking, what we can answer for you. We've sort of come to the end of what we're discussing. And if you've got any questions, pop them in now. Let's have a chat. So, Nick, have you got anything to add to any of those points that we discussed?
I did. I did speak to someone recently who had a poor experience trying to negotiate with an agent. And again, like some of the sort of larger corporate type agencies, I know that the staff are under a lot of pressure to refer people who make offers to their mortgage brokers, solicitors, this kind of stuff, and you can feel like you're being pushed in directions you might not necessarily want to go. So what I was trying to say to this client was that you can just take a step back, and just take stock of the situation and what you want to do. They were feeling like they were being pressured to increase their offer quite quickly and to a level they weren't particularly comfortable with. Being told there's this person, there's that person, you've got to do it today, this and that. And sometimes I think that you can get dragged along with that. And then ultimately what can happen is you'll end up spending money on surveys and other things, and when maybe your heart's not in it. So there's no harm sometimes in using other professionals like Rob and myself as sounding boards to just chat things over as well. And I think that kind of helped this client anyway, just sort of relax a bit more and really decide, do you really want to buy this place and what are you prepared to pay for it? Because agents want to get a deal done, something signed, let's get it going. And sometimes with people on your side, it might not always be the best thing to do to go straight into something feet first.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think haven't seen too many questions come through, so should we wrap it up, Nick? Thank you first of all for your advice and your inputs. You want to let the people know how they can get hold of you?
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me, Rob. I really appreciate it. It's great fun. My first live. So thanks, Rob. Thanks, Power Bespoke. And we're our website's ptmortgagesltd.co.uk. So you can get in touch with us there. You can give us a call. The numbers and contact pages are open. We're on all the social platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all this stuff these days that's going on. So find us, drop us a message, anything we can help with. We're happy to always have a chat.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll maybe drop your information into the comments and then people can find it there.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. So thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Once again, please share this to anyone that might find this useful. And if you need any advice on getting yourself a buyer's agent, I am ready and available. My contact details are on my Facebook page. And I will catch up with you soon. Have a great weekend. Nick, thank you very much. We'll catch up with you guys soon. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.